In this quick video, I want to discuss how to swipe successful sales letters. Now, about every copywriter would boast about his collection of successful sales letters that he gathers from the masters of persuasion. This collection of winning sales copy is what is commonly referred to as a swipe file. The reason behind collecting and studying these winning pieces is to provide inspiration for writing successful sales letters, sharpening your own writing skills and borrowing and adapting headlines and selling strategies to different markets. The idea of studying these great writers and artists in order to model them is nothing new. However, you'll find that most writers who are new to copywriting may feel uncomfortable with the level of borrowing that go on within the copywriting and direct marketing industry. In other writing markets such kind of a swiping practices may be considered as plagiarism. But like companies that quickly create a knockoff version of a successful product, marketers are always ready to borrow the ideas behind successful advertising campaigns. You see, swiping can be the shortcut to writing winning sales letters, or it can turn into a copycat and lame imitation of the genuine article and fail miserably. The debate is therefore not whether a copywriter should swipe or not, but how to swipe successful sales letters effectively. The practice of swiping can be considered as on a continuum. On the one end, you have those copywriters who use the original sales letters as a fill-in-the-blank template, simply making the substitution for product names and other minor changes. That's not really swiping. On the other end, however, of the continuum is the practice of studying the swipe file, to determine the selling strategies and technique behind the letter, and adapting these same techniques in a new sales letter. In essence, there's the copying on one end and adapting on the other end. So the copying should not be considered as swiping, although some copywriters may argue for the practice, but copying and swiping are not even distant cousins. Let's take one of the most famous direct marketing letters, the Wall Street Journal 2 graduates letter that brought in over $2 billion in subscriptions for the magazine. The letter tells of two young graduates with apparently equal advantages who, on the 25th anniversary of their graduation from college, found themselves in very different positions. One was the president of a company and the other was a manager of a small department of the same company. The letter goes on to explain how the Wall Street Journal was the reason for the success of the one graduate over the other. Now, as the copywriter wanted to use this letter as a swipe, I can simply tell the same story of two graduates at their 25th class reunion and how my product made the difference in their widely different successes. But how practical would this be if I was selling a lawn care or a weight loss product? So the question that has to be asked by the copywriter is, why has this letter been so successful? What is the real selling strategy that could be adapted to any product? According to Robert Collier, the adapting is the job. Many writers make the mistake of thinking that if they copy the wording of a successful sales letter, that their letter is bound to pull through and there is no bigger mistake. The wording counts for little. It is the way you adapt the idea of that's back of the successful sales letter that counts. And that's coming from the Robert Collier letter book, page 148. So taking this cue from Collier, the idea behind this letter is the comparison between two normal average people who made a simple decision that made a huge difference in their lives. Now, of course, the simple wording of the letter and the use of a story, the subtle use of the rebirth of spring, they all go to making the letter appealing. But the big selling idea is what made the difference angle to the letter. It's basically a before and after shot as used in a weight loss ad. So here are some suggestions on how to make the best use of swipe files. Number one, do not try to copy the rote wording, but instead the selling idea behind the letter. Number two, try to adapt and not just copy the letter. Number three, study the market, historical context for the letter before you try to adapt it to your present market. So you can probe for the answers to the question as to what has changed and how the strategies that were considered novel at the time, the simple letter was written, the swipe letter was written, maybe now overlook or be ineffective. Number 4, consider how much the credibility of the letter writer or product owner accounted for the success of the letter. For example, the Wall Street Journal already had a lot of credibility in the market before this letter was used. So you may not be able to mimic that component of the letter. Number 5, study the masters of copywriting so you know what to look for in a winning sales letter. What may be transparent to you without the background knowledge can become visible if you know what you are looking for. So the bottom line is that there is an art and a science to swiping, and if you blindly copy successful sales letters and in effect place new wine in old bottles, your sales letters will flop.